One of the most useful features of any digital system is the fact that you can configure a console, say for the first band that's appearing in an evening performance where you might have 2 or 3 bands, do a sound check with them, store all of your settings, and then move on to the next band, make all the changes you need and store their settings as well. So to do that we use snapshots, and that creates a cue list. And so for each band that we're working with, or if you're in a theatre situation, you could have a different snapshot for each different scene that's changing on the stage. But let's take the scenario of a band. We're doing an evening gig and we've got 4 different bands. So I'll show you how we do that. So the first thing we do is we go over here to the snapshot control area and press the setup button. This brings up our cue list. As at the moment you can see that there's nothing stored in there, but let's assume that I'm just doing a rough mix for the first band. This is their monitor levels for their stage wedges, so they're all happy. All I do now is just press the store button and it writes a cue in there. And what I can do then is I can press the name tab, and I'm going to just call this band 1 and hit enter. So that's now the cue for band 1. And now again I've got a slightly different mix for the next band that are coming up. So I want to store that, so I press store and it writes another cue, cue number 2, and again go in, we'll name this band number 2 and so on. And I'll do one last one, press store over here, name, and this will be band number 3. So there we have band 1, band 2 and band 3. Very simply 3 different setups. I can then scroll back through this list using the arrow keys over here. So although the settings are still for band 3, which is the active one here you can see in green, which was the last state the console was left in. So we've now finished our rehearsal, and it's now later on in the evening and we want to recall the first band, ready for them to perform. And all we do is we go in here and press the recall button. And the console is now reset for band number 1. And I can use the next and last buttons to move through my cue list or back up. And it really is as simple as that. And that cue list, although there are only 3 snapshots stored in there, that cue list could be infinitely long. What's another handy feature is that you can update any of these snapshots. So we've just recalled band number 3, and any changes I make as I'm watching their performance and mixing, I can just hit the update button, and this brings up a confirmation screen that says, are you sure you want to overwrite the existing snapshot? So I just press yes, and now I've added that change to that snapshot. And you do that progressively as you're mixing. So instead of writing a new snapshot every single time, you just update the existing snapshot. And the great thing is then that you've now got your cue list, which here is only 3 snapshots, but it could be 120 or even 500. You can then offload those onto a USB stick as a show, and you could get in an aeroplane and fly to another country where a VI console is waiting for you, put your stick in there, load up your show, and your snapshots are there ready to go. Okay, so we have our cue list here that's got 3 snapshots in it, and what we want to do is offload them as a show. A show can contain as many snapshots as you want, and we're going to put it onto a USB stick so that we can take it away from this console and install it on another console. So let's see how we do that. So I'm going to put the stick into the slot here, go to the menu tab, scroll along till I find the show tab. This shows me all of the shows that are on the console at the moment, and VI4 Demo 2 is the one that we've just created. And this area here shows me what's on the stick, which is currently nothing. I've got import and export tabs, an arrow going that way for import, that way for export. Very simple to understand. So all I do is hit the export tab. It will ask me if I want to save the show before I export it, so we go yes. And it will now transfer the show that's on the console onto the stick over there. So if we now remove that, and what we'll do is we'll select a different show over here, we'll load this up. So the console will now put itself back into a different state for a show that was previously stored on it. Okay, so now we've got a different console here. This is a show called VI4 copy paste. So now what I'm going to do, let's assume that I've just hopped on an aeroplane and flown somewhere. Now in front of the console, I'm going to put my stick in over there, wait for it to pop up. So there's the show that I want to load in. I could obviously have a list of shows here. I only have one on this stick. So all I'm going to do now is hit the Import tab. It will say here, do I want to do that? Yes. So we now have our show loaded into the list over here, VI4 Demo 2, and I'm now going to load that onto the console. So I can now remove that. So now I have my show, and when I hit the snapshot control button, there's my cue list ready to go with my new show.